Sometimes there's a reason your best players are your best players.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Illini. Special shout out to my Discord community. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. A simple reminder, if you'd like to support the program, please just make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm here producing Illini content for you every single day. So if that's your cup of tea, if you're not subscribed before, make sure you're subscribed now. Today's episode is brought to you by the College Football Playoff. The College Football Playoff is here, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. The College Football Playoff, presented by Allstate, begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st, on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. So the last game that Illinois played, it was a heartbreaking 2-point loss to the number one team in the country, the Tennessee Volunteers. And now Illinois fans really have no choice but to kind of dwell on it for about 8 days, because our next game isn't until, I believe, Sunday against the Missouri Tigers. And so dwelling is something that us fans will do, but not what the ace player on this basketball team is doing. An interview came out very recently where Orlando Antigua, the assistant coach for the Illini, talked about Kasparas Jakucionis being in the gym after that Tennessee loss, shooting jumpers at 2 a.m. Now, Kasparas had what I called him out for, his worst game, in my opinion, as a collegiate basketball player. Sure, the box score numbers look pretty decent, but ultimately he did have 7 turnovers, and not just 7 turnovers, but some of those turnovers being very much right at the end of the game that ultimately may have cost us the game. But the fact that Kasparas was in the gym immediately after the game, again, to me, makes me more comfortable knowing that's the type of player, that's the type of leader that we've had. I had an episode earlier where I talked about, is the team too soft? And kind of questioning whether Kasparas and Tomislav ultimately need to get a little bit, be able to handle the more physicality of what the college basketball world brings here in America. But what I don't need to question, and I don't think I've ever needed to question, was Kasparas's overall leadership ability. Last year, one of my favorite parts of that Illinois basketball team was early in the season, before all the drama happened, Illinois was releasing a series where they kind of featured Terrence Shannon Jr. And one of the prominent parts of that docu-series was Terrence would be in the gym, in the middle of the night, would be waking up at, I believe, 4 a.m. just to shoot jumpers at the gym. They talked about how he had keys and he can go in there whenever he wanted. And I've always felt that that kind of sets the tone for that kind of basketball team that you're going to have. When your leader is in there shooting jumpers in the middle of the night, when he recognizes what he needs to do to get better, I have to believe that that's the kind of mindset that's going to hopefully slowly be adopted by the rest of the team. Look, I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, right? And the generation behind me grew up in the Kobe Bryant era. And those are two of the guys who were very much in the gym all day, every day. Sure, they were mean to their teammates, but they kind of set an example that they wouldn't ask you to do anything that they wouldn't do. And those are the type of players that ultimately succeed. Michael Jordan is the GOAT, no argument. Kobe Bryant is one of the top 5-6 basketball players of all time, and they all, between them, have multiple championships. The fact that Kasparas can recognize that he probably didn't have the best game, and in certain situations he could have made smarter decisions, and he didn't let himself just go to bed peacefully that night. Obviously the thought lingered in him enough where he wanted to go back to the gym and continue to work on his game. And the best part of all this, we heard about this from Orlando Antigua. I'm not trying to sound like an old man here, but we constantly see other players recording themselves at the gym in the middle of the night talking about, work all day, every day, 24/7. The grind never stops. All the cliche stuff, which ultimately was cool at first, but now kind of makes our eyes roll. Kasparas didn't really seem like that. I had no idea. I only know because the assistant coach told us he did that. And again, that tells me that Kasparas isn't really worried about his social media accounts or his public perception. All he's worried about is being a better basketball player. And the better Kasparas is, the better the rest of the team is. And so I'm hoping when stories like that start leaking out, like other teammates start to recognize that. And I hope that guys like Will Riley or maybe Ben Hummerkaus or DGL are going to be at the gym with Kasparas overnight, recognizing that, you know what, hey, if he's doing it and he's been clearly our best player all season long, well, then I should be doing the same thing. I'm not sitting here trying to question how hardworking some of these basketball players are. I don't know, right? I only know even the Kasparas story because I heard it from the assistant coach. What I'm saying is, at some point when you see your leader in the gym in the middle of the night, and you know that playing college basketball is a privilege that not everyone's going to be able to do for a very long time. And so if you want to maximize your opportunity to win a conference championship, to beat your rival, to make it to the Elite Eight again, maybe possibly even beyond that, the work is required. Kasparas came to Champaign with a lot of hype. And he, for the most part, he's lived up to that hype. But now you kind of see why he's lived up to that hype. This is just another feather in Brad Underwood's cap in the sense that where he knows he made a couple mistakes a couple years ago in bringing guys who might have been talented, but maybe not the right mindset for what the kind of culture that Brad wants to bring to Champaign. Kasparas looks like he's the perfect guy to embody the culture of everyday guy, literally grinding it out day in and day out. It's why I've always been so confident about this basketball team when it comes to January, February, and even March. When it comes to the actual Big Ten season really starting, I do think that this team itself will gel and hits a ceiling that I don't know if any other Big Ten teams are capable of hitting. And a large part of that is because of Kasparas. And if anything, my thoughts are just kind of confirmed, knowing that he's not going to settle for anything less. There's a lot of players who grow up here who are they've been the top basketball player at every league that they've played in every class that they've played in. And so they've been catered. They've been given Nike contracts, Adidas contracts as high schoolers. And they've been talked about how they know they're going to be the next big thing when it comes to basketball. And I hate to say it, but sometimes that breeds a little complacency. It doesn't look like Kasparas is one of those guys. And so the fact that Kasparas is going to continue to try to work and get better, hopefully that's symbolic for the rest of the team to continue to work, to get better, and to ultimately win the Big Ten Conference. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily sports app. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Join now because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Just download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Just download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Let me know your thoughts on Kasparas and this news about him shooting at 2 a.m. in the morning. Does stuff like that affect you at all? Or do you think that should just be in the baseline expectations for a player? Does it comfort you in any sort of way? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Recently, on Tuesday, Brett Bielema met with the media and he discussed some of the bowl preparation and also why maybe Illinois has been a little bit slower than some of its competitors when it comes to bringing in transfer players. Now, we all know the NIL situation. There's teams like Auburn and there's teams like Texas Tech out there who just seemingly are getting whoever they want. I don't know if they've got a blank checkbook or what it is, but obviously there's a lot of schools out there that are maximizing the NIL portion this offseason because next year when the revenue sharing kicks in, all of a sudden things are going to be audited a little bit closer. But one interesting story that Brett Bielema brought up, which I thought was more common news at this point because I feel like he's hinted at it before, but he did mention that Zachary Franklin wanted to play for the Illini 2 years ago. Now, can you imagine your 3 wide receivers being Isaiah Williams, Zachary Franklin, and Casey Washington? That could have happened, but apparently, due to academic reasons, Zachary was not able to enroll at Illinois, and that's why ultimately he had to go to Ole Miss, where it didn't really look like he was able to catch much time on the field, and he decided to redshirt with the idea, I'm assuming at that point, that he would finish his academic side and be able to come play for Barry Lundy Jr. and the Illini the following year, which is obviously what happened. The academic rule in question, I believe, is that the University of Illinois has a rule that the last 60 credits of your undergrad degree have to be taken at the University of Illinois. Now, on an academic side, that of course makes sense. You want to make sure that you get a quality education at the University of Illinois and that you want good representatives. And also on the financial side, of course, it makes sense. The University of Illinois wants to collect as much tuition money as they can before they just start handing out degrees. But truthfully, I don't think this is as big of a deal as a lot of people are making it out to be, at least not for us in the Big Ten Conference. There's a lot of schools out there that have very similar rules. The University of Michigan has been battling this for the last X amount of years because of their academic side being so stingy that they don't really bend in any sort of way for athletics. Some of you will agree with that. Some of you will not. For me, I just feel like, you don't want to go crazy, but athletics for any big-time university really does open the door for more opportunities for financial donations and just for worldwide recognition when it comes to the university in general, right? I mean, applications always go up when a certain football team does well. And that's not just Illinois. I'm talking about any school. Just look up any research study. It always happens to happen. So the difference is probably, Illinois being in the Big Ten Conference. Most of the other Big Ten schools have similar situations. Michigan, I already mentioned, Wisconsin, and I believe there's a couple other institutions who have the same type of application processes. Where that's not an issue is the SEC. The SEC has made it very clear that their football, football. Very little else matters. And quite honestly, they're more football academies than they are actually educational academies. And so that's why it's not really a coincidence that the best players tend to reside in the SEC. Sure, the footprint of where the best high school football players are tend to be in SEC territory as well. You're talking about Florida, you're talking about Texas, two of the biggest college football producing states in the world being SEC schools. But I do think just the unlimited funds and the fact that, a kid doesn't have to worry about his transcript or what kind of classes he takes. And, let's be honest, and I'm not speaking for everyone. I know and I understand that there are students out there who do value their education and that degree genuinely matters to them and the institution matters to them. But we're being naive if we don't acknowledge that a lot of these kids just want to make it to the NFL, just want to make a quick buck. And so for them, the idea that you don't have to hassle with what's going on in the classroom, of course, that's going to be something that catches their eye. And, again, the SEC has a reputation as being the best football conference in the world. So you have a chance to play in the best football conference in the world and not worry about your academic. I can see why that can be appealing to a certain type of player. Honestly, I'm conflicted. For me, I've always enjoyed the purity that is college sports. And I've vocalized that I don't like the direction that the sport has been heading in for a couple of years now. Now with these, $2 million, $2.5 million paydays that these college players are not even shy about receiving, right? I believe I saw an On3 report saying a certain football player was going back to their team because they had reached a $2 million deal. Basically, even the phrasing itself makes it sound like a free agent signing with an NFL team. That's just the reality. And it's up to me whether I want to continue to enjoy the sport and acknowledge that it's changed, that it's not the sport I necessarily grew up liking. Or I can just kind of move on to the next thing and say, hey, if I want to focus on the professionals, I'm just going to focus on the professionals. That is where the best players in the world ultimately reside. Ultimately, I've decided to stick with college sports, and ultimately, I do like the way that the University of Illinois handles things. And again, most of the Big Ten Conference handles things. Again, it may not mean much to the players, but I have a degree from the University of Illinois. I know several others who have degrees from the University of Illinois. I like the idea that this isn't just true market free agency, and that Illinois, on their best years, they are doing it. Again, this is my definition, the right way. Whether the right way for me is the same definition as what you might have, I can't answer for that. But I don't want this to become strictly just a sports type of situation, and don't get me wrong, I can see that eventually happening where all of a sudden academics is kind of thrown out the window. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how you can still call it college sports at that point. But, ultimately, I like the way Illinois is handling their things thus far. Is it going to cost us opportunities to get players that otherwise we might be able to get, just like a Zachary Franklin 2 seasons ago? Sure. But in the big picture, this is school. This is academics. And going to college is not a privilege that a lot of people in this country have. And I do think that there's a beauty to that too. And maybe that's just me being corny, and that could very well be it. But right now, I like the way Illinois is kind of running things. I'm very curious on your guys' thoughts. Are you guys ready to just make this a full-blown semi-professional league? Or do you kind of like to incorporate some of the academic side of the sport? Now, granted, Illinois is different in the sense where the athletics department and the academic side tend to clash more often than not, including what happened to Shad Khan just a couple days ago. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments. I would love to share that story as well. But let me know what you guys think. Should college football stay college football, or should it turn into semi-professional football? It's that time of the year. The college football playoff is back. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. And that's going to pretty much wrap it up for today's episode of Locked On Illini. A simple reminder, look, if you're on social medias, whichever social media, do a search for Locked On Illini. I believe I'm pretty much on all of them at this point, and it's a nice way for you guys to give me feedback on the show. Feel free to send me a message, tell me the things you liked, things you don't like, and just know that when you get a message back, it'll be me responding to you. I'm the one handling those accounts. I appreciate all your guys' support. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you don't mind, take a second, find me on your favorite audio platform, and make sure you hit the subscribe button there. Again, it helps with the algorithm, and it just helps this Illinois channel continue to grow. We want to show the Locked On network that they made the right choice in giving Illinois its own channel. Thank you for making Locked On Illini your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big Ten podcast. Craig Shimon puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.